Welcome back to our channel. We need to talk about the absolute tragedy unfolding right before our eyes on days of our lives. I am talking about the miraculous return of Lexie Carver. When she first came back, we all cheered, right? Seeing Abe and Theo get their beloved wife and mother back felt like the ultimate soap opera fairy tale. But here's the kicker. It is all a cruel, devastating lie. The miracle is actually a nightmare in disguise. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf's Super Serum 2 is an absolute bust. The magic drug is failing, and the terminal illness that took Lexie away from us the first time is aggressively ripping her away all over again. Can you believe it? After everything Abe and Theo have been through, they are going to have to watch Lexie die a second time. It is just sick. And at the absolute dead center of this heartbreaking, tear-soaked mess is none other than EJ DiMera. A lot of fans love to paint EJ as the ultimate villain, the cold-hearted son of Stefano who only cares about power and control. But let's be real for a second. In this specific storyline, EJ is not the villain. He is the ultimate tragic victim of his own family's twisted legacy, and I am going to defend him right now, and I honestly do not care who gets mad at me for it. Let's break down the sheer psychological horror of Lexie's situation first. Lexie knows she is dying. She feels the symptoms returning. The dizziness, the fainting spells, the weakness. She knows that the lab rats injected with the same Versavix formula are dropping dead from sudden organ failure. She is a doctor, for crying out loud. She knows her fate is sealed. But instead of facing the music and letting her husband and son watch her wither away in a hospital bed, Lexie makes a desperate, misguided choice. She decides to run. Her original plan was to swap places with Kristen DiMera, who was actively being kidnapped by EJ. Lexie wanted to be shipped off to the remote DiMera Island, so she could just fade away in peace, completely alone. She wanted to spare Abe and Theo the agonizing trauma of a second goodbye. And while I completely understand a mother's instinct to protect her child from pain, I think this move was a huge mistake. You do not just abandon your family to die on a deserted island. That is crazy. But fate, as it always does in Salem, had other plans. The swap gets completely botched. Instead of Kristen ending up in that shipping container, EJ and his assistant Rita Leslie stumble upon a collapsed, unconscious Lexie. And this is where the story shifts into high gear and becomes an absolute masterclass in emotional torture for EJ DiMera. When EJ finds his sister dying in a shipping container, his initial reaction is pure, visceral horror. He immediately shuts down her insane island plan. EJ flat out refuses to let his sister die alone on some godforsaken rock in the middle of nowhere. And honestly, good for him. EJ has lost so much family over the years. He lost Stefano, he thought he lost his mother Susan, and despite all their bitter feuds, he actually loves his siblings. The thought of Lexie taking her last breath in total isolation is something EJ simply cannot stomach. He promises to bring her home, to protect her, and to be by her side until the very end. But here is where the agonizing moral dilemma kicks in, and it is tearing EJ apart. EJ firmly believes that Lexie needs to tell Abe and Theo the truth. He knows that robbing a husband and a son of their final goodbyes is a sin that can never be forgiven. He pushes her. He pleads with her to come clean. But Lexie, in her fragile, dying state, begs him with tears in her eyes to keep her secret. She begs him to let her spare her family the pain. And EJ breaks. The big, bad, ruthless CEO of DiMera Enterprises completely crumbles under the weight of his dying sister's tears. He caves. He agrees to keep the secret, and you won't believe what happens next. Because EJ cannot take her to the hospital without alerting Abe, and he cannot put her in a normal bedroom without arousing suspicion, he makes a twisted, desperate decision. He sets up a makeshift hospice room for Lexie, deep inside the secret DiMera tunnels. Yes, the tunnels! The psychological layers here are absolutely mind-blowing. If you are a longtime fan, you remember exactly how Lexie got her fatal brain tumor in the first place years ago. She got it from being held captive in the toxic, poorly ventilated DiMera tunnels by Andre and Stefano. The tragic irony of Lexie going back into the very tunnels that essentially killed her the first time to spend her final days is just poetic, heartbreaking cinema. It gives me chills just thinking about it. EJ is now carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. He is trapped in an impossible situation. If he tells Abe the truth, he is betraying the sacred dying wish of his beloved sister. But by keeping the secret, he is actively lying to the mayor of Salem and the young nephew he actually cares about. EJ is fully aware that when Lexie finally passes away, the explosion of grief and rage from Abe and Theo is going to be directed entirely at him. He is choosing to absorb all of their future hatred just to give Lexie the peace she is begging for. If that is not the definition of a tragic hero, I do not know what is. Poor EJ is literally sacrificing his own soul and his relationship with his family to honor his sister's final request. And of course, the secret does not stay completely buried. Johnny DiMera finds out. Johnny discovers what his father is doing, and he is absolutely horrified. Johnny looks at EJ and sees a monster hiding a dying woman in a dungeon. Johnny demands that EJ tell Abe and Theo the truth immediately. But Johnny is young. He is looking at this in black and white. He doesn't understand the agonizing gray area of a dying woman's final plea. I actually think Johnny is being way too harsh on his dad here. A lot of fans think Johnny is acting as the necessary moral compass, but I actually think Johnny needs to back off and realize the impossible position his father is in. EJ is drowning in grief, and Johnny's judgment is only making it worse. The ticking clock is so loud right now you can practically hear it echoing through the DiMera mansion. Lexie's symptoms are getting worse by the hour. We have already seen the summer promos where Lexie collapses violently. It is only a matter of time before she completely loses consciousness, and Theo and Abe are forced to face the horrifying reality of what is happening. Imagine the sheer devastation when Abe Carver realizes that the miracle he has been holding on to was just a cruel illusion. Imagine the absolute nuclear rage he is going to unleash on EJ DiMera when he finds out EJ knew the entire time and hid her in the tunnels. Abe is going to tear EJ apart. And the saddest part, EJ is just going to stand there and take it. Because EJ knows he deserves their anger, even though he only did it out of love for his sister. This storyline is vintage Days of Our Lives. It has the gothic drama of the DiMera tunnels, the mad science of Dr. Rolf, the deep historical lore of Lexie's original death, and a complex, morally gray conflict that forces us to look at a classic villain in a completely new light. I am telling you guys, Dan Feuerriegel is going to deliver some Emmy-worthy performances as EJ navigates this nightmare. My heart absolutely breaks for EJ, for Lexie, and for the Carver family. What do you guys think? Is EJ making a massive mistake by hiding Lexie in the tunnels, or is he doing the noble thing by honoring her dying wish? Do you think Abe will ever, in a million years, forgive EJ for keeping this secret. Let me know all your thoughts, theories, and frustrations down in the comments below because I need to talk about this with people who get it. Keep your tissues handy, soap fans, because the next few weeks in Salem are going to be an emotional bloodbath.